miles away. We had to drive there at 4 a.m. and at 4:47 a.m. I ran over a howler monkey at 70 miles an hour. And Stephanie's husband, I'll never forget, raised up out of the back seat where he was sleeping and said, "That's something you don't do every day." So the environmental people down there are still looking for me. There's a warrant for my arrest. But I'll tell you a little bit about our team. You know, you've heard the term carbon footprint. I like to think we're making a kingdom footprint in that nation. God showed me about a year ago, because sometimes when you do things and you don't see immediate fruit, you wonder, why am I doing this, God? You know, and God really began to speak to me about a year ago that I sent you down there, my son, to speak into that nation. I can't take you there and show you churches I've built or hospital wings I've added on, but I can show you churches that have been built by people we have spoken into. I can show you children down there that have school supplies because of things we've done. I can show you mechanics that have tools. I can show you trade school people that have uniforms. All that's been done by this ministry. And basically it's been done because God has allowed me to speak into that nation. The first year I went alone. I went with one gentleman, knew nobody, stepped off a plane. Within 4 hours, I met a president and cabinet member. And he said, "What can you do to help my nation?" And I said, "God sent me here to pray." I went down there to pray. We prayed for everything. We prayed for the monkeys. We prayed for everybody we could find. The second year we went, I said, "God, what am I going to do now?" I prayed for everybody. He said, "This time I want you to go preach the kingdom." So that's what we did. So this was our team this year, and you can see a couple familiar faces in there. This was February the 5th, I believe, in Belize. Our ministry has expanded this year. We took a large team. Again, we are now big time into the schools and training. For the first time this year, we were invited into the prisons. I don't think it'll be the last. That was a powerful ministry opportunity for us. We were again invited to TV. I got to tell you the TV story. The first night in Belize, we get off the plane, we dash across the country to Belmopan, which is the capital, which is about 90 miles from the airport. We check into our rooms, get a shower, get something to eat. We get to church at 7 o'clock. Now in Central America, if church starts at 7, everybody shows up about 10 to 8. But we were there at 7 because we're Americans, okay? So, and I'm inside talking to some of the folks, and the pastor waves me outside, and he says, "There's a guy here who wants to talk to you." And this is what God has done. Every year I've been there, he keeps putting people in my path to the point you can't ignore it anymore. And this guy was standing outside the church in running shorts, sweatshirt, drenched in perspiration, towel around his neck, and a Belizean gentleman, and he just says, "Who are you?" And I said, "My name's Rod Davis. I'm with the Kingdom Business Network." He said, "Well, I was jogging by, and I got about a block down the street, and the Lord said, go back to that church, the lights are on, see what's going on." So he came back, and I just sort of told him in a nutshell what we were doing down there. He said, "Well, I have a national television program. Will you be on it in the morning?" And I said, "No, I'll be in the prison in the morning." He says, "Well, how about the next day?" So now the howler monkey story kicks in. So that's how we got on TV in Belize. So, and what we didn't know at the time was it was a live show, but it went into Guatemala, went into Mexico, went into Honduras. And, you know, you never know if you make an impact on that kind of thing. Until the day we left, I was tipping a porter for putting a bag in my taxi cab at the water taxi, and he called me by my first name. He saw me on television. Sir Rodney, that's all I go by down there. Church relationships and teaching. You know, we have relationships all over down there. Every church I stepped foot in February this year is, "Did you bring the lady back?" That's the first thing I wanted to know. I took her into every church down there, the Assemblies of God that were English speaking, one Spanish church we went to, and, you know, she does what she does, and she starts reading people's mail. And, you know, I went to the restroom at the Living Word Church. I came back out and 40 people were in the floor. I thought, "Oh my God, she's killing them." And the pastor's in the box saying, "Oh my God, we haven't seen this for 10 years in this church." So she loosed something down there, big time. So trust me, you're very welcome. That's everywhere we went, we heard your name. So we have expanded a couple of things this year. We took a large team. We did a crusade, which was basically on the island of Ambergris Key, 7 churches went together once a month now to have an event in the spirit of nothing but unity. And we rented the high school auditorium. Pastor Kevin preached, and Stephanie and Kevin's wife and Becky Carpenter sang and led worship. Had about 300 people show up, and 299 of them came forward. And the other one was slain in the spirit. And that's another story. But oh, here's a picture. Yeah, Dr. Amson down there. I found this from the archives. And thing about the sewing schools. 4 years ago, Pastor Kevin and I preached in Mission Visionera Church in Belize City. It's a Spanish-speaking church. First time I'd ever spoke with an interpreter. And we're sitting there, and we kind of tell the KBN story, and Kevin gets up and shares a little bit. And I don't hear a peep out of these people for 2 years. I'm like, we made them mad. They didn't invite us back. All of a sudden, when was it? A year ago, November, I get a call from Pedro Perez. Now, Pedro Perez is the vice president of Atlantic Bank in Belize City. He's also the minister of tourism, which is an elected position. And he goes to that church. And he said, just want to give you a report on the schools. And I'm like, okay, Pedro, what schools? Well, the ones you helped get started. I'm like, I have no clue what you're talking about. And he said, well, you really inspired